But I'm reading this right now, and I'm worried about Rachel Zegler's career. I don't see how she comes back from it. There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and couldn't happen to a better person.
Doesn't need a prince to save her, and that's surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Controversy around the film began ever since we learned that there would be no Prince Charming because apparently he kissed her without consent, and also no woman needs a man to rescue her. The movie also used CGI for the 7 dwarfs rather than actors because they thought using real people would be offensive.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat. Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it. And then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage.
I don't think they're going to buy it. I don't think they're going to watch it. I don't think they're going to like it.
But Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
You know the saying, go woke, get broke. And Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Do you know, how hard it is to find an attractive young woman in Hollywood who can act and sin? It's not hard. Who just isn't going to offend half the country?
This truly is the worst casting, maybe, in the history of the film industry.
This is what Liger says. Their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White says compete for worst performing live-action Disney adaptation ever.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed. She's unhappy. The reality is she's just not stable. Like the majority of people in Hollywood, they're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White. Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy $1 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Us to hire actual dwarf humans, and then we thought we would have CGI magical creatures. How about this? We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarf.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, how badly did Disney's new Snow White flop after all?
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Utilizing all your old IP. It's really bad. It's really bad business. Number 2, please stop changing all of the historic plots which actually have meaning to generations of people to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't...
The rating, of which it got 1.6, not out of 5. Sometimes you go to McDonald's, it's 1.6 out of 5.
Yeah.
1.6 out of 10.
Because once more, look at this right here. This movie has crashed in the 2nd week that it's been out. 70%.
What was once heralded as Disney's bold step toward inclusive, modern storytelling has turned into one of Hollywood's most unexpected collapses. Rachel Zegler's Snow White remake, slated to reinvent the classic tale for a new generation, has become a lightning rod for controversy, sparking not just online backlash, but a tangible revolt across retail shelves. Independent shop owners across the US have quietly pulled merchandise tied to the film, citing intense customer disinterest and increasing hostility. What began as a whisper among boutique collectors and niche movie shops evolved into a full-blown grassroots rejection. One store even posted a sign that read, "Due to public demand, Snow White 2025 will no longer be carried." For Zegler, this wasn't just another wave of digital criticism, it was a very public humiliation. Sources close to the actress say her reaction to the news was devastating. Upon learning that physical products bearing her likeness were being removed from stores, she reportedly had an emotional outburst, pacing around her home, reading article after article that painted the removal as symbolic of widespread cultural rejection. "How can they let people erase me?" she allegedly asked in a now leaked Zoom call with her PR team. The decision by these retailers was not just about sales, it was about sentiment. The backlash against Snow White wasn't driven solely by Zegler's performance or ethnicity, but rather by what many perceived as the tone-deaf messaging surrounding the film. Early interviews with Zegler, in which she criticized the original story as outdated and promoted a non-romantic heroine, struck audiences as dismissive, even arrogant. That dissonance between intention and audience expectation created a divide Disney couldn't bridge. On social media, the hashtag Snow White trended within hours. Critics and commentators, from YouTubers to major podcasters, dissected the fallout. Joe Rogan called the merchandise ban unprecedented, likening it to a cultural mutiny. Megyn Kelly took it a step further, labeling the moment a wake-up call for Hollywood's woke direction, blasting Disney's tone-deaf marketing and questioning Zegler's interview strategy for Disney. This grassroots revolt struck a financial nerve. Merchandising was a crucial component of the film's profit model, and now entire inventory lines were being slashed to clearance bin prices, some as low as $2. Social media users began posting videos of barren shelves or discounted dolls with clearance stickers over Zegler's face. TikTok clips using horror soundtracks to pan across abandoned Snow White displays went viral. The film, intended as a beacon of progressive storytelling, was becoming a punchline. Zegler's fanbase, typically active online, grew noticeably quiet. Even media outlets that often take sympathetic stances toward embattled celebrities passed on interview pitches. According to insiders, her team scrambled to arrange damage control segments, op-eds, and morning show appearances, but there were no takers. Talk shows didn't want the controversy. Digital news platforms said it wasn't worth the clicks. Overnight, Rachel Zegler had gone from a breakout star to someone Hollywood didn't want to touch, not cancelled, but avoided. The silence was deafening. Zegler reportedly went offline, cancelled a podcast appearance, and ghosted the production team for an upcoming project. One friend described her as entering emotional hibernation, saying she was crushed not by the criticism, but by the feeling that she'd lost control of her own story. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. A film meant to modernize, a classic fairy tale, had been stripped from shelves and rejected by the very public it aimed to empower. Even inside Disney, anonymous staffers have started to speak up. One former marketing employee said, "We tried to warn them it wasn't going to resonate, but no one listened." Another added, "It was never about her being Latina or feminist, it was the arrogance, the tone." There was a complete disconnect. From the audience, what began as a few poorly received interviews had snowballed into an avalanche that now seemed impossible to stop. This isn't just a celebrity misstep, it's a textbook example of how quickly public perception can turn. When brands ignore their audience, Hollywood gambled that Snow White could carry the weight of modern values rebranded into a legacy property. But instead of sparking admiration, it sparked resistance. The film's message was lost in translation, and the messengers the brunt of it. Perhaps most striking is the broader industry reaction. One Hollywood agent summed it up: "Rachel's incredibly talented, but right now she's a brand liability." Studios, already cautious in an era of divisive fanbases and vocal online communities, are said to be reconsidering projects with her attached. For a rising star, being labeled radioactive can be a career killer, not because of scandal, but because no one wants to risk the optics. In the end, Snow White has become something far more than a failed film. It's a cautionary tale, not just about misreading your audience or fumbling your messaging, but about the compounding effect of small missteps in the digital age. Zegler's early interviews might have been recoverable, the online backlash survivable, but the physical removal of her film from store shelves, that was a visual metaphor too potent to ignore. The public didn't cancel Rachel Zegler. They didn't stage a protest or demand she be blacklisted. They simply walked away quietly, disapprovingly, and perhaps permanently. And for a film meant to reimagine happily ever after, that might be the most tragic ending of all.